Hello, welcome back to Scholastic with Natalie, where we talk about books, writing, reading, D&D, and sometimes other stuff. I'm re-recording this video that I just tried to record because my microphone didn't pick up any of the sound because OBS was feeling salty. So if I accidentally miss something or don't say something, it's probably because I thought I already said it because I literally just recorded this video. Anyways, today we are doing a book talk / book review of I Am the Rage by Dr. Martina McGowan, illustrated by Diana Ejeta. I am assuming that is how you say the illustrator's name, but I am not 100% confident, nor even mostly confident. To be honest, I'm really bad at pronouncing things. And today we are looking at this wonderful collection of poetry, and before we read the back, I'd like to read the first couple notes in here. So the first note says, America once again has civil and racial unrest, with protesters flooding our cities, calling for justice for all, with people being detained, brutalized, and murdered on the streets, as well as in their homes without the benefit of due process. These and other heinous crimes are sadly not new to our nation, nor do they show any signs of ending. And then there is a second quote by Langston Hughes, which says, I am the American heartbreak, the rock on which freedom stumped its toe, the great mistake that Jamestown made long ago. And on the back is a brief sampling of the poem I Am the Rage. So I will read you the amount that ended up on the back, and we will go from there. I am the rage, roiling just beneath the surface. I am the dream deferred, again. I am the promises needed and repeated, but never kept. I am the air between light and dark, fueling flames that burn, but can neither be satisfied. Oh my gosh, wow, I really am just completely brain dead. I'm sorry, I'm gonna start that over again. I am the rage, roiling just beneath the surface. I am the dream deferred, again. I am the promises needed and repeated, but never kept. I am the air between light and dark, fueling flames that burn, but neither be consumed nor satisfy its own abiding hunger. I am the glowing embers you continue to poke and prod with meanness, that bubbles over onto the streets. I am the ravenous appetite to destroy something, anything. This poem actually continues for about 3 more pages. I'm counting each page as front and back because poems are a bit different. And it is quite lengthy. It's a good introduction to this book and the contents of it. But I also really like the part that they sampled for the back cover, because that was the part that I felt was extremely impactful. So I have 2 stanzas I want to read to you that I selected from poems, and then I have 2 full poems that I want to read. So, and of course I forgot to once again mark these, so that I could tell you what poems they were from. So, this is from page 51, from a poem called A New Song. How do we find the pathway to a new story, and stop the reiteration of the old? The story that has never furnished us with real hope for a better tomorrow, and explodes or collapses on an extraordinarily regular and predictable path every time we play that old record. And then on page 70, it comes from a poem simply titled, America, Something is Wrong. America, something is wrong. And until you can shake free from your own shackles of shame, you bind us all together in a bizarre dance of rejection and reconciliation. So, I'm now gonna read you the 2 poems that I especially smacked me in the face. So this is from page 15, called Navigating This Hazardous Terrain. We navigate this hazardous terrain, trying to advise you that there is indeed a struggle, there is a gap. Seeking a seat at the table to plead our cause, when you claim there is no cause for alarm. No brutality, no violence, no otherness. To seek restitution for our lives, distorted by a people who would douse our incandescent spirits, take away our languages, and rename our tribes. A delicate and deliberate climb out of the slimy pit, continually living on the edge of change and promise never fulfilled. Surviving a waking nightmare, beseeching you to break the shackles you refuse to acknowledge even exist. Holding back the violence inherent in unrecognized anger, which will rise to bloodshed again and again, because the struggle to bridge the gap is way too real, and far too much to contain in this puny vessel, this mortal flesh, always just a hair's breadth away from death, as we continue to navigate this hazardous terrain. And then on page 35, this is a poem called Rhetoric. The constant din of rhetoric, rotting away even the vaguest of hopes that things will change, get better. Police strutting like cocks in a henhouse, champing at their bits, clutching their clubs, waiting for the curfew hour and the beatings to begin, acting out orders embarrassing even to the Germans, while others kneel and walk with the protesters. Numbered quotas of arrests and beatings, solidification of hard hearts, tightening of helmets and flak jackets, the erosion of freedoms by plague, and the wellspring overflowing from a deep well of loathing, the broken and boarded-up windows of the dreams of others, while our blood stains every sidewalk. Prayer warriors offering thanksgiving for having come this far, by faith. Which is where exactly? Clinging again to the dubious threads of anticipation for another watered-down version of slavery which should appease us for another decade. It is a ghostly form, an apparition, that walks among us, one that can never truly become whole or visible to all, while this river of blood continues to flow in every city and lives in every battered soul. Oh, sorry, that those poems just always get me. So I just want to talk about like my wrap up and my feelings and summation for the experience that this is, which is just anger. This is just an angry collection of poetry, which, you know, it's kind of implied by the title. And I can say that these are very intricate emotions that are expressed very uncomfortably. The way words are layered and chosen, and it's not just anger, it's anger and hopelessness and desperation and sadness and disappointment in an almost kind of faithless way. It's a horribly beautiful mix of feelings. And it is indeed conveying feelings and experiences that I cannot understand whatsoever. I am not part of the African American Black community of America, and I can truly never quite understand how they feel. And it's only through people who write things like this that I can even come close to even trying to that I can even try to understand. And I think that poetry does that with the way it allows you to convey emotions and feelings and themes without needing to write stories. And not that I'm saying stories aren't a good way to express these things. I mean, just look at Angie Thomas. But there's only so much that you can put in a story without, diluting it and making it less. Whereas with poetry, the more rage and anger and anything that you put into it, the emotions that feast in it, are going to make it that much stronger and much more impactful. And you can feel that hit with most of the words. And it is very indelicately angry. If I had to compare it to a book of poetry I've read, because I haven't read a ton, I would say it gives me a similar vibe to Amanda Lovelace's The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. And you can see the difference in the way that words are chosen and the way the poetry is structured. Lovelace tends to pick more shorter pieces of poetry, using more of them to convey a more personal anger, whereas McGowan has longer stretching poetry to convey kind of a common thread that she's tapping into, if that makes sense. And I find the way that she's expressed injustice into words extremely well and in a beautiful way. I can say that it's similar to how Nikita Gill wrote Where Hope Comes From, with how this one thread of just, this is what I'm here for, this is what I'm here for, and you just feel that in every single poem. And whereas Nikita Gill is focusing on hope, McGowan is focusing on anger. And I'm not saying that to make it seem less or anything, it's the focus of the poetry and the way that she's turned this injustice and anger at injustice and disappointment at injustice and just all the thoughts and feelings revolving around that, the way she's made it into something that people who haven't lived it can understand it. I think it's done very well and very masterfully, because you can always find other people with similar experiences to resonate with your poetry, because it doesn't take much to have them tap into that, but to have people who don't understand, who don't know it, kind of start to empathize or try to empathize with your poetry, I think that takes some skill. I don't know, I found this an interesting and kind of difficult read, because, you don't always like to feel like you might be doing something wrong, or you've handled things in a bad way, which all of us have done at one point or another, and so sometimes you just need to be smacked on the head and told you need to do better. And that's what I feel like this book is. So I would recommend reading it. It's quite good. It's short, easy to digest. The concepts are definitely put in a way that anybody can understand them, and that is a good thing. So I think this video is going to end up being shorter than I meant it to be. I feel like I've already talked about this book so much, and my melatonin's starting to kick in, so I'm getting sleepy. Let me know if you have read I Am the Rage, if you're interested in reading it, if there's some poetry you want me to check out, or even other stories you'd like me to look at, if there's any special requests for the upcoming videos, things I've been doing, things I haven't been doing, H.P. Lovecraft journaling, Inktober stuff, whatever. I'll be happy to try to oblige. I like hearing your opinions, even though it's mostly the one person's opinions. Hello, kitten, I'm talking to you. But if you're feeling not shy today, the rest of my silent viewers, I'll happily take requests as well if I'm bringing something to the table you'd like to see more of. And I think that's it for me. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I will do my best to get another video filmed and loaded up in time for Friday. I have some stuff I'm trying to get done and work on. And I will see you all in the next one. Scholastically Natalie is out.